Good afternoon. This is Cynthia Cuellar with the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Farm Service Agency. We'll now begin the webinar on FSA's county committees with a focus on tribal outreach. Before we begin, I just wanted to go over some points here. The audio is streaming through your computer, and if there is ever a time in which the audio cuts out on you, you can submit a request to the chat box feature for assistance, and someone will provide an alternative phone number to call into to hear the audio. In addition to that, any comments or questions can be submitted to the chat box feature as well. And this session is being recorded, and we will post this session to the FSA Outreach website once it's been captioned. It will be posted on www.fsa.usda/outreach. So again, my name is Cynthia Cuellar, and I am an outreach specialist for the Farm Service Agency, FSA. I wanted to do a little quick introduction of the two folks that I have on the line with me. Jean Knight, who is the County Committee Program Manager here at the national level, and Pinky Beamer. Pinky, did I say your name right?
Beamer.
I apologize for that. She is a current COC member in Oregon State, and she will be helping me with the webinar today and hosting. A little bit about me. As an outreach specialist, I assist FSA's state and county level outreach specialists when they do their outreach in their respective areas. I've been serving in this position for 3 years now, and I've been working on building my networks with national and regional organizations that work with tribal communities, 1994 land-grant universities, tribal colleges and universities, Hispanic communities, Hispanic serving institutes, and farm workers. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we have a lot on the agenda today. So we'll be talking about the history and responsibilities of COC members, the importance of COC. We'll cover some of the common barriers, adding definition to how local administrative areas, or LAAs, are decided. We're going to cover some basic requirements for someone who wants to serve on a county committee, outline basic requirements for someone to vote for county committee members, and we'll be discussing some points of how FSA is conducting outreach. Then we'll hear from Pinky, and she's going to be sharing her experiences on running for COC and serving on the committee. And then we'll finish off with some dates for everyone to be aware of. Again, this session is being recorded, and the caption recording and the PDF of all of these PowerPoints will be posted on the FSA Outreach website. So why are we having this webinar? In talking to stakeholders, we have heard that communities are either unaware of FSA county committees, or their purpose, or how to get involved in COC. So the reason why we're having this webinar is because we here in FSA Outreach are attempting to make every effort within our means to build connections, networks, and share information about our programs and services. And this is just one way for us to do that. This webinar on county committees is geared specifically towards addressing barriers that we've been hearing about from Native American stakeholders and tribal organizations. Taking what we've heard, FSA wanted to make a public space in which we can address some of these barriers and provide a better understanding of county committees and some of the terminology used to describe responsibilities and roles. So by having this webinar, we're hoping to create connections. We're hoping to continue to keep that door open for further dialogue, communication, understanding, and action. So here is a brief history, brief overview of the county committee and how it began. The county committees were originally authorized by Congress in the 1930s to allow grassroots input and local administration of programs. Committee members are a critical component of the day-to-day operations for FSA. They help deliver and provide outreach for FSA farm programs at the local level, And farmers who serve on committees help decide the kind of programs their counties will offer. They provide input on how to improve program delivery. They work to make FSA agricultural programs serve the needs of local farmers and ranchers and help local farmers and ranchers know what programs are available. More than 7,700 committee members serve on more than 2,200 committees nationwide. So here are some of the responsibilities of the county committee, including day-to-day operations. This encompasses voting and coming to consensus on yield determinations for their county, the county executive director, the CED, ratings, and approving producer applications when required for various programs. Their duties also include the hiring of the individual for the CED position, the county executive director position. They oversee the administration of farm program activities conducted by the county FSA office. They monitor changes in farm programs, participate in monthly county meetings, provide their voice at the table to ensure socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers are fairly represented, and they should be informing farmers and ranchers of the purpose and provisions of FSA programs. And they are also there to bring awareness back to their respective communities by directing outreach activities. There are two main types of members on a county committee. We have the elected members and the advisory members. Sometimes there might be an alternative member, but they can only replace a member for a single meeting and only become a member if the alternate permanently replaces the COC member. So in this chart, I put the elected member and advisory member positions side by side so you can see the differences easily. Elected members are elected through the nomination process, are a voting member on the committee, and serve a 3-year term. For an individual to serve as a member, they can self-nominate themselves, or they can be nominated by a local organization, and they do this by filling out the form FSA 669A, which can be found on our website, or you can find it at the local FSA office. And there's also about 3 to 11 members for each county committee. The advisory member, also known as the SDA advisor, are appointed by the state committee. To be considered for this appointment, they have to submit a letter of request to have their name considered by the state committee. The local county committee, in consultation with local groups and local tribal organizations representing SDA farmers and ranchers, can submit recommendations to the state committee as well. Be aware that this position is a non-voting member and serves only a 1-year term. The appointment of those advisors is one of the efforts that USDA has made to address concerns in the 2002 Farm Bill about fair representation of SDA farmers and ranchers on county committees. Non-voting SDA advisors attend county committee meetings and ensure that SDA issues and viewpoints are understood and considered in FSA actions. Non-voting advisors do not have the authority to sign documents or vote on county committee actions. If there is no advisory member selected by the state committee and one is needed to ensure fair representation, the secretary may appoint an SDA voting member. So in this context of this rule, the SDA member can be of the group women, African American, American Indian, Alaskan Native, Hispanic, Asian American, or Pacific Islander. And roughly 1/3 of the county committee seats are up for election each year. So it differs in each county, or it can differ. So what is the importance of COC? County committees are there to ensure that FSA program availability is known to farmers and ranchers. The members are there to help spread knowledge and awareness of eligibility of programs and the variety of programs and services available to farmers and ranchers. So included on this slide are the data sets from the 2012 Census of Agriculture for American Indian farm operators and principal operators. And as these numbers increase, we should also see an increase of Native American representation on county committees. So this is just a visual representation of where American Indian farm operators are located throughout the United States. In the 2012 census, there were about 58,475 operators recorded, and you can see here on the map by their concentration. The darker the color, the more the concentration. And here is data for the FSA County Committee members over the past few years. We see that representation on county committees of the county committee members that are American Indian or Alaska Native has been less than 2.5%. So over the years, it's been fluctuating between 2.3 and 2.49, and our goal is to see that percentage increase. So that's just covering some of the basics. I wanted to bring Pinky now into the conversation so we can talk about some of the common barriers that we've been hearing from our tribal stakeholders and tribal organizations. So Pinky, one of the common barriers that we've heard is that the barriers in terms of them being involved in COC is that paperwork is overwhelming when signing up for loans or programs.
Yep, that's sure how it looks. And one of the most popular things that FSA does is the microloan program. We're fortunate enough that one of our representatives comes out on site on the reservation to help with the paperwork.
That's good to hear that FSA is present on site. Another barrier is access to broadband and receiving information.
Well, something that our ballots are sent out in the mail, so we try to do everything we can to encourage people that they're coming out and to return your ballot as soon as you can.
Okay, thank you. Another barrier that we've been hearing is understanding which programs are available in their local area.
We've tried various ways of getting information out, and we hold meetings and we hold them at different times and different locations because our reservation is fairly large. We go on the radio, we do newspaper ads, put out flyers, and in fact on July 16th we're having a sign up for the wildfire loss that we've just recently had.
Great. Another barrier that we've been hearing is traveling the distance to be involved in COC meetings.
Yeah, and some of our meetings can be conducted on the teleconference. This is a non-salary public service position, and there is a small stipend that's provided to offset the expenses.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So the last barrier that we'll be covering today is that people have heard that you have to be a subject matter expert in order to serve on a county committee.
You just need to have an interest in farming and ranching, and you learn so much from everybody else there that just your interest is good.
Great. Thanks, Pinky, for covering those barriers with me. I just wanted to cover a couple of other things before I hand the floor back over to you to share your experiences. So hopefully these coming slides will clear up some other barriers that we've been hearing about. And some of those are understanding the local administrative areas and how they're decided. So counties with Native American reservation land shall be considered tribal reservation boundaries in establishing LAAs. So the LAAs don't have to follow the state or county line. So each county reviews and draws up their own LAAs every year. So be aware of that in case there's questions or concerns about how the LAAs are drawn up. The county committees have authority over those LAA areas each year. The county committees provide state committees with proposed changes to LAA boundaries each year, no later than April 1st. All changes to LAAs shall be in effect no later than June 15th of each year. So they're in effect by the time the nominations come about, so people are aware of where they can serve on which county committee. Other points of clarification, we wanted to talk about who can serve on a county committee. Agricultural producers who participate or cooperate in an FSA program may be nominated for candidacy for the county committee. They must also meet the following requirements, which include be a producer with an interest in farming or ranching operation, participate or cooperate in any FSA program provided by law, be a U.S. citizen, be of legal voting age, meet the basic eligibility requirements, and reside in the county or multi-county jurisdiction in which they will be serving. And there has been some question about that last point, so I'm going to cover an example question, an example scenario. So in this scenario, the tribe owns land in Monroe County, and they would like to have a tribal representative serve as a COC advisor on the Monroe County Committee. However, the representative they want to serve does not live in Monroe County, and the representative isn't an active participant in FSA programs, but they are a participant of the operation by nature of being a tribal representative and being involved in management decision of the tribe's farming operation. Can the tribe have this representative serve on the COC in Monroe County? And the answer is yes. They are able to serve as a COC advisor because a representative is acting on behalf of the entity. So that's a quick question to a complicated answer, and I'm hoping that clears up some questions. But we're going to continue on and cover some other points here. Maybe it'll provide some more clarity. So let's put some definitions to some of the terminology here. What does it mean to be a producer with an interest in farming or ranching? It just means that you basically have an interest or that you're a cooperator. And a cooperator means that information has been provided about a farming or ranching operation by an individual, but the individual may not be currently receiving benefits or may not have applied for benefits with FSA. And same thing with what is participate versus cooperate. What do those mean? So participate means one is participating in or receiving payments or benefits in accordance with any of the programs administered by FSA. So participating, you're receiving payments or benefits, and cooperating, you might not be receiving benefits, but you have your information submitted on your farming or ranching operation. And what does it mean to meet the basic eligibility requirements? Basic eligibility means it covers the basics of either an individual or an authorized designee of a legal entity. In our previous example, the representative fulfills that part of being an authorized designee of a legal entity. So how do you nominate someone, or how do you self-nominate? You have to fill out a form, the FSA 669A, and you could obtain that from an FSA service center, or you can obtain it online. It must be signed and dated by the nominee and delivered to the FSA county office or postmarked no later than August 1st, 2018. And remember, it has to be signed and dated as a writing candidate if elected as a member is willing to serve on the COC. So remember those points on how to nominate someone. And again, you can self-nominate, or an organization can nominate another individual. For voting for COC members, ag producers of legal age participating in FSA programs, or a younger person supervising or conducting an entire farm operation, they are also eligible to vote. What does that mean? They are participating in an FSA program, so this is where our youth loan program comes into play, where they're registered with FSA. An individual voter is eligible to vote on one's own right, partner in a general partnership, or is a member of a joint venture. And continuing on, the requirements for voting, they have to be an authorized non-individual voter, which means a corporation, a state, trust, limited partnership or other business enterprise, or a state political subdivision of a state or state agency. They are a spouse in community property states, or American Indian tribal members if there is ag land is tribally owned or held in trust by the tribe or in trust for tribe by the United States. And the last point I wanted to make here for voting, every member of an Indian tribe is considered a landowner if the land in question is tribally owned or held in trust for the tribe by the United States. All members of Indian tribes holding agricultural land are eligible to vote if they meet the age requirement, and they have to be on record as an eligible voter. So members of Indian tribes must be entered into the FSA SCIMS records as an individual and flagged as eligible to vote and entered into the correct COC LAA on the COC election website. So their local FSA office can assist with that. And just a note here, tribal entities shall not be considered as corporations unless the entity is operating as a bona fide corporation chartered by the state. So just a side note for additional information. And how to vote. Mailing is the biggest way to vote. Eligible voters are mailed a ballot on November 5th, 2018. Or you can walk into your county office, and if you're on the eligible voter list, you can vote there. You can print out a ballot from the internet, and you have to mail it in by December 3rd. And then in addition to that, once the ballots are all in, the counting process of the ballots is public. So if anybody wants to go and view that, you can find out where they'll be counting votes by contacting your local FSA office. So I want to talk just a little bit about how FSA does some outreach. Each FSA county office works with our state office to prepare outreach plans. And these plans have specific steps on how the county office will conduct their outreach throughout the year and how they will engage and participate with producers who are in SDA communities. FSA county and state offices, with guidance from our FSA national office, prepare a list of group contacts with which FSA will work with on these outreach efforts. So such group contacts include land-grant universities, land-grant colleges, historically black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutes, tribal colleges, American Indian tribal organizations. So all of these organizations we reach out to and build networks with. We also have a resource toolkit that we in outreach have worked with the Office of External Affairs on. And within this outreach toolkit, there's brochures, pamphlets, talking points, PowerPoints, nomination forms, a list of resources that's available to the public is online. And we also conduct webinars such as this, which will be recorded and posted online. We attend meetings to share information. Like Pinky said, we do radio broadcasts and newsletters. We send gov delivery emails. We try to engage the public in as many ways as we can. So with that, Pinky, I will hand the floor over to you. If you can share with us your perspectives and some experiences you've encountered in being involved in the county committee.
Sure. Well, I first heard about FSA through the Intertribal Range and Egg Specialist here, and because I was working on our tribal farm with my family, I became more aware of the programs and services that were available. And when I joined that group, I got to find out more about the types of things I was doing, which was raising livestock and crops, mainly hay and grass hay and alfalfa. but you also get a wider range of water use, water conservation, bees, pollination, different kinds of specialty crops. So those all really add into your experience because we're all working the same thing. We're working the earth, and we're wanting to make sure that we earn a living but take care of everything as well. And through the county committees, I had replaced 2 different ranchers. They were both women, and they both were my neighbors, and they both served representing the tribe. And so I was asked to step in after they had finished their terms, and I was appreciative of that. And because of that, I was nominated, and want to encourage everybody that if you have any interest in the agriculture business of any kind, because we're helping to save the earth and produce things for people to consume and other animals, that you make sure and get involved, because like that toolkit or voting, I mean, just we all are doing something if we're producers on our reservations, so all of us can get involved with that. And I really enjoyed being on this committee because there's other people that do other kinds of crops, and sharing that information all can come down to what works for the earth and how you manage your soils, how you manage the air, because this is our only earth we've got, and we need to take care of Earth. And everybody shares so much information, so you might even find that there's new technologies, but something that is old that has worked in the past might be the best way to go.
Great, thank you so much, Pinky. And what would you say to a member who's considering or thinking about running for COC? What are some of the best experiences that you have that you can share with somebody who's interested?
That you gain so much more knowledge, and you can network with other people, and it's fun, but it can be challenging because you got to commit to be at these meetings and represent your reservation and get information out to people. But it's also very enlightening, and it all comes back to you in some good way, because you're helping to promote agriculture and to make sure that people are aware of services, and it just is like self-fulfilling because you're helping yourself and you're helping others.
Great, thank you. Has there been a best kind of event that you've seen that works really well that maybe other organizations or other FSA counties can kind of replicate in terms of getting the word out, outreach, communicating?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We've noticed that if you can first of all, you need to let people know in all kinds of ways that you can, word of mouth, through the radio, newspaper, flyers out, online. If you can let people know about when you're having your meetings, and then make sure that you have the kinds of information and the paperwork that they're going to need assistance with, and if representatives from FSA can be there, that's even better. But if you can stagger your meetings or your times and places and have them in different locations and at different times, because some people, a certain time doesn't work for them, and maybe a building is closer to them or just has a different feel for them. So if you can kind of change up what you're offering, you will probably gain different people attending your meetings.
Great, thank you. One of the questions that I have in terms of outreaching to tribal communities, is there any program or any specific information that you think is better to clarify, or maybe something to start off with, like maybe a staple? So for example, I'm going out into the field. I don't know much about a tribal organization, don't have much experience communicating with them. What do you think I should prepare myself with when I'm going to go meet with them for the first time?
You mean as a producer coming in?
Oh, as a FSA employee or as an outreach specialist, going to meet, yes, a potential producer. and letting them know about FSA?
I think to just get a feel and review some of the documents of how the reservation was created and what kinds of counties it overlaps in. We have 7 different counties, and so you need to know what kinds of soils, and we have timber and desert and rangeland and dry land and some irrigated land. So if you can get those kinds of maps and documents and take a look at them and see what kinds of practices and what could be offered and what to expect in the future, like if you're going to have some drought or you're going to have some wildfires, or hey, it looks like there's going to be an excess of water in this area, maybe that we can irrigate more or grow different specialty crops. That kind of information is really helpful, because then the people that you're serving can understand that you have a better idea of what the area is like.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Okay, let's see. We did have one question come through, and it had to deal with acting on behalf of an entity. And the question is, does that only apply to tribal members, or can it be applied to other SDA organizations or groups? Jean Knight, who is our COC program manager, I believe is on the line. Jean, can you speak to that?
Yes. As long as they're a member of a legal entity, it doesn't matter if it's tribe or any group. It just has to be an entity with FSA, meaning a trust, a corporation, an LLC, partnership. And as long as they are the authorized representative, they can sign for that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And also, I just want to clarify on slide 25, it says you can print the ballot from the internet. You can print the nomination form from the internet, not the ballot. The ballot you can pick up from the county office. They have spare, or if one was mailed. Because the ballots are pre-filled with the nominees' names. You wouldn't, if you printed one off the internet, you wouldn't know the nominees. You wouldn't know the dates. The date's going to be counted, and the date it's due. So you would need to either go to the county office or you would get one in the mail.
Okay, thank you so much for that clarification.
You can print a nomination form offline.
Right, and print the nomination, not the ballot. Got it. Okay, thank you so much for that clarification. Right now we don't have any further questions, so I am going to cover some dates that everyone should keep in mind for this coming year. The nomination period has begun, so if you are interested in serving on COC, or you know of someone who would be a good candidate as a COC member, the nomination forms are available online that you can fill out and send to your local FSA county office. As long as that nomination form gets to us by August 1st, that is the last day to file nomination forms at the local FSA Service Center. November 5th is when the ballots are mailed to eligible voters. December 3rd is the last day to return your ballot to the FSA Service Center. And January 1st, 2019 is the date when the newly elected COC members take office. So I'm going to pause for just a second to see if there's any other questions. In the meantime, for additional information, you can find your local FSA Service Center online. We also have our outreach materials for county committees online that includes fact sheets, PowerPoints, brochures, handouts, talking points. There's a lot of really good material there, including some stories, including Pinky's story, is on that website. So Pinky or Gina, are there any other comments that you would like to make about COC?
Well, I just appreciate the Farm Service and all that it can bring to people, and we just need to get involved and step up and also to include the youth. I like that one of the slides in here was talking about the youth, because there's a lot of people who are bee producers, beef, pigs, maybe they're growing crops, but it's those young people that are going to step in the shoes of all of us guys, so that we need to be doing as much as we can to include them and get them on board. They've got a lot of great ideas.
Thank you, Pinky. Okay, we have one question here. Jean, I'm going to ask you to chime in on this, or if you feel we need to do a little bit of research on this. We have a question that says, what about tribes who have a statue at large written from the Lord Proprietors of Great Britain but not state recognized? Being a historical tribe of a particular state, what programs are available? From the statute, the tribe is state recognized. And we see that question. It came through. I think we might have to do a little bit more research on this. Just to make an announcement, you can reach out to us at FSA Outreach at wdc.usda.gov with any questions that you might think of after this session. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit more research on that question.
That's an interesting question. I'd be interested in the answer too.
Okay, that sounds good. I think what I can do is, in addition to providing the PDF of the PowerPoint slides online, I can add a slide in which we're receiving these questions and how we will address them. So Jean, we also have another question that says, what if the tribe is federally recognized but does not own land? How can they participate in programs?
You would need to own land to participate. I mean, because to participate, unless they have honey bees, that you wouldn't need to own land for, but the rest of all of our programs work off of ground with animals, crops, etc. So I would think they would need to own land to be able to participate.
Okay.
Because that's part of, you participate or cooperate, and neither of them would be covered if you're not participating or cooperating if you don't own land.
Okay.
But we can look into it too.
Okay. We will do that and provide some additional resources and attach an attachment to this PDF of the PowerPoint. Again, if you have any other questions that you would like us to address outside of this webinar, you can email us at fsaoutreach@wdc.usda.gov. Also, the Department of Agriculture has really good resources online as well. There is a 2016 Tribal Resource Guide in which I will provide the web link to. But if you go to Google and type in 2016 Tribal Resource Guide USDA, the PDF should come up for those resources. And with that, I thank everybody for joining our webinar today. Again, this session has been recorded, will be captioned and posted to our FSA Outreach webpage, and we will provide additional information in the PDF of this PowerPoint for everyone to access in the future. So again, thank you to Pinky for joining us and sharing your experiences. Thank you to Jean for helping with the technical questions. I appreciate your time with us today. And with that, I will close out this webinar. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.